If you could see the end of your story right now, would you still call your worst day a tragedy? We often walk through life wondering why certain shadows fall across our path without any apparent reason. Is it possible that our greatest misfortunes are actually hidden shields we simply haven't recognized yet? Why do we rush to judge the entire book of our lives by reading just one single page? Imagine life as a grand tapestry where we only see the messy, tangled threads on the back. We focus on the knots and loose ends, while the front holds a masterpiece of perfect design. This divine plan orchestrates every high and low with a wisdom that far exceeds our current understanding. Achieving true equanimity means finding a steady pulse of peace amidst the chaotic storms of our existence. It is the quiet art of remaining unshaken when the world around us begins to crumble and fall. We must learn that patience is not just waiting, but how we act while we are waiting. The thin line between fortune versus misfortune often blurs when viewed through the lens of passing time. What feels like a crushing defeat today might actually be the very foundation of tomorrow's greatest victory. Only time will tell which events were truly curses and which were blessings in disguise for us. We invite you to sit with these questions as we explore a story that challenges our perceptions. Deep in a quiet valley lived a humble man named Mr. Adam, who owned very few things. Despite his meager belongings, Mr. Adam was always happy with his possessions and never complained. His neighbors watched in wonder as he moved through his days with an unwavering sense of gratitude. Mr. Adam seemed to possess a secret internal compass that kept him grounded through every rising tide. He understood that his small collection of possessions was exactly what he needed for his specific journey. To understand this, we must look at a man who owned almost nothing, yet never felt he was lacking. Could the secret to lasting peace be hidden in the simplest life imaginable, far from modern noise? Our story begins in a humble village nestled at the foot of a majestic green hill. Beside this village stood a thick forest, filled with ancient trees and the secrets of the land. In this quiet place lived Mr. Adam, a middle-aged man known for his calm and gentle spirit. Though he worked the land tirelessly, Adam lived a simple life and frequently struggled with financial lack. He was like the great hill itself, remaining completely unshaken by the changing weather and seasons above. Have you ever wondered if it is possible to be truly content with only 2 meals a day? For Mr. Adam, having simple food twice a day was considered a profound and meaningful blessing. He walked with an air of equanimity, never letting the world's troubles disturb his inner quiet. Every challenge he faced was viewed as a necessary part of a grand and divine plan. He moved through his days with deep patience, trusting that his story would unfold in its time. What would it take for a person to stop complaining and find peace in their current circumstances? Adam trusted the Creator's plan completely, feeling guided by a wisdom far greater than his own. Neighbors often looked at his worn-out shoes and wondered why he always carried such a bright smile. In his eyes, the concepts of fortune and misfortune were simply different parts of the same journey. He lived by the belief that only time will tell the true value of our daily experiences. His small cottage was modest, and his belongings were few, yet he felt rich beyond all measure. Every morning he greeted the green hill and the forest, finding joy in their silent, steady presence. His happiness was independent of wealth, rooted instead in a deep connection to the world around him. However, Adam did not work these fields alone, as his life was intertwined with the natural world. Among the few things they owned on that hill, one presence stood far above the rest. Have you ever felt a bond with an animal that made them feel like true family? For Mr. Adam and his son Daniel, that bond was found in a horse named Max. Max was more than just property. He was a strong white horse with a powerful spirit. To see him in the fields was to witness a creature of pure grace and strength. Every farm has a tool, but Adam had a partner who became the farm's heartbeat. Max was to this simple farm what a sturdy sail is to a small boat. He moved with a quiet quickness, navigating the rugged terrain with a steady, natural ease. His sharp intelligence was evident in his eyes, showing a deep understanding of his surroundings. He was a tireless worker, dedicated to the daily tasks that kept the farm alive. Mr. Adam and young Daniel loved Max deeply, treating him with the utmost kindness. In their eyes, the white horse was a cherished member of their small household circle. They shared a silent language of trust that only those close to nature can understand. Is a creature just an object of labor, or can they possess a soul like ours? This relationship was a pillar of their peace, built on patience and mutual respect. To Adam, Max represented the balance of life, a vital gift from the divine plan. He maintained equanimity through long days of work, knowing his loyal companion was by his side. They lived simply, valuing this connection more than any gold or material wealth. Life seemed perfect on the hill, but fortune and misfortune are often two sides of one coin. Whether this abundance would last was a question only the passage of time would answer. But when something is that valuable, the outside world eventually takes notice of its worth. The tranquility of the hill was soon broken by the sound of a carriage from the city. A rich man from the city arrived with a chest of gold, offering a fortune for Max. Mr. Smith, a wealthy city businessman, looked upon the humble farm with a sharp, calculating gaze. He did not travel alone, bringing his young son to witness the legendary beauty of the horse. They had come specifically to see Max, whose reputation for strength and grace had reached the city. As Mr. Smith observed the animal, he saw not a friend, but a valuable trophy to possess. Mr. Adam greeted the visitors with a calm heart, untouched by the glitter of their expensive attire. The businessman wasted no time, gesturing toward his chest of gold with an air of total confidence. What is the price of a family member when survival on the hill remains a constant struggle? Mr. Smith offered Mr. Adam a staggering sum of money that could change his life forever. For a man with so few possessions, this sudden fortune seemed like a gift from the heavens. Mr. Smith looked at Max like a trophy, but Adam looked at him like a beloved brother. The villagers gathered around, whispering about the wealth that now sat before the humble old man. Would you choose comfort over a companion, trading a loyal soul for a lifetime of easy luxury? Everyone expected Adam to accept, as his financial struggles were well known throughout the small village. Yet, in this moment of testing, Adam practiced the deep equanimity that defined his quiet life. He looked at the gold, and then at Max, seeing a bond that money could never replace. With a gentle but firm voice, Mr. Adam refused the businessman's offer to buy his horse. The crowd gasped in disbelief, unable to fathom why anyone would turn away such immense wealth. Adam understood that his divine plan did not require the riches offered by a man from town. He practiced patience, knowing that true fortune versus misfortune is not measured by the weight of gold. Mr. Smith stood stunned, his belief that everything has a price suddenly shattered by a farmer. The businessman could not grasp the peace that comes from being content with what one has. To Adam, the horse was a gift of life, far more precious than any currency minted by man. He maintained his composure, reminding himself that only time will tell the true value of any choice. Mr. Adams' refusal left the businessman baffled, leaving him to wonder what he had truly witnessed. It was a choice that would haunt the wealthy man sooner than he could ever have imagined. Why would a man living in poverty turn down a life-changing sum of money for himself? Adam's refusal was not a moment of madness, but a testament to his incredible inner strength. He practiced a quiet mental discipline that kept his heart steady through every life storm. This state of equanimity allowed him to see far beyond the immediate glitter of gold coins. While others would have celebrated the offer, Adam chose to trust in a divine plan. He was always happy with his simple possessions and never complained about his humble life. His refusal to sell the horse was a calculated choice born from years of practicing patience. He understood that the concepts of fortune and misfortune are often misunderstood by the world. To Adam, a sudden windfall of cash might bring more trouble than it was actually worth. He lived by the belief that only time will tell what is truly a blessing. This profound contentment made him immune to the common human desire for more and more things. He viewed his horse as a living creature, rather than a commodity to be traded away. By saying no to the businessman, Adam reaffirmed his commitment to a life of peace. Most people struggle with constant wanting, but Adam found joy in exactly what he already had. His happiness was not a matter of luck. It was a result of his disciplined mind. He knew that chasing wealth often leads to a cycle of never-ending desire and worry. Instead of wealth, he prioritized the spiritual growth that comes from a quiet, steady life. This internal balance gave him the clarity to reject what others would consider a miracle. He stood firm against the pressure of society, following a path few others could understand. His story challenges us to rethink what it means to be truly wealthy in this world. One morning, just days after the businessman departed, the stable door stood wide and empty. No footprints marked the mud, and no struggle disturbed the hay where Max usually slept. How do you stay calm when your most valuable asset vanishes without a single trace? For the family, the loss felt like a gaping hole in their roof during a storm. Daniel panicked, his voice echoing through the hills as he called for his loyal friend. In contrast, Mr. Adam remained remarkably calm, his face showing no sign of inward turmoil. He practiced a deep sense of equanimity that the surrounding world could not easily understand. Together, father and son began an exhaustive search that lasted from dawn until the late evening. They combed through every thicket and climbed every jagged ridge surrounding their isolated mountain home. Even after a full day of searching, the beautiful white horse was nowhere to be found. Word of the disappearance spread quickly to the village, where whispers soon turned into mockery. The neighbors laughed, claiming the farmer's luck had finally run out after his stubborn refusal. They remembered the businessman's offer and called Adam a fool for losing everything he owned. Is misfortune just a matter of perspective, or was this truly a devastating blow of fate? The villagers saw only a tragedy, believing the family had been cursed by their own pride. Daniel felt the weight of their judgment, but his father watched the horizon with quiet patience. He refused to label the event as a disaster, trusting instead in a larger divine plan. While others saw a crisis, Adam saw only a single moment in a much longer story. He knew that the line between fortune and misfortune is often thinner than we imagine. As the villagers continued to jeer, Adam prepared to say something they did not expect. His heart remained steady, anchored by the simple belief that only time will truly tell. Days turned into weeks until the thunder of hooves shook the village once more. Was the disappearance a tragedy or a secret journey meant for reinforcements? Like a seed that disappears into the dirt, Max returned as something much greater. Max didn't just come home. He returned like a king leading an army of wild stallions. Several days after vanishing into the wilderness, the loyal horse finally reappeared on the horizon. The villagers stopped their work, squinting at the massive dust cloud rising from the valley floor. Behind Max ran 5 magnificent wild horses, their manes flowing like banners in the wind. These powerful creatures followed him willingly, drawn to the small farm he called his home. The empty stable was suddenly overflowing with life, strength, and unexpected wealth for the farmer. Word spread through the valley faster than the wind, drawing everyone to the farm's edge. The neighbors who once mocked Adam's misfortune now stared in absolute disbelief at the sight. They witnessed a miracle of nature, where a loss had transformed into an incredible abundance. Fortune versus misfortune seemed to swap places in a single afternoon, leaving the village completely stunned. "What incredible luck you have," they shouted, crowding around the fence with newfound envy. They praised his great wealth, calling the return of the horses a clear sign of favor. Yet, while others celebrated the windfall, Adam watched the wild stallions with a quiet, steady gaze. He maintained his sense of equanimity, refusing to be swept away by the villagers' loud excitement. To Adam, this was not a moment of final victory, but another step in a larger story. He understood that the divine plan often moves in ways we cannot immediately perceive or judge. How often do we mourn something that is actually growing beneath the surface of our lives? Patience had rewarded him with more than he lost, but he remained cautious of his joy. The villagers pressured him to celebrate, but the old man simply leaned against the wooden gate. He looked at his neighbors and spoke the simple words they had heard from him before. "Is this a blessing or a curse?" he asked, his voice calm amidst the surrounding chaos. His heart remained anchored, knowing that only time will tell if this wealth is truly good. Suddenly, the man they pitied was the wealthiest in the valley, but Adam knew better than to celebrate. The wild horses were a magnificent gift, but they arrived with an untamed and dangerous spirit. Wealth always has a hidden price, and for Adam, that price soon involved his only son. To tame these powerful beasts, young Daniel dedicated himself to training them with steady, patient hands. Day after day, the boy worked in the dusty corral to teach them to carry heavy loads. These horses were like fire, useful when controlled, but devastating the moment they finally broke free. During one intense training session, a particularly wild stallion reared up and threw Daniel to the ground. The sickening sound of a snapping bone echoed across the hill, silencing the thunder of hooves. Daniel lay in the dirt with a broken leg, his face pale against the harsh mountain sun. News of the accident spread through the valley faster than the wind across the open plains. The villagers gathered at the gate, their voices rising in a familiar chorus of pity and judgment. They looked at the injured boy and declared that Adam's great fortune had turned into a curse. Is any gain truly worth it if it leads to such sudden and agonizing physical pain? The neighbors shook their heads, lamenting the terrible luck that had once again befallen the quiet farmer. Yet, despite the chaos and the whispers, Mr. Adam remained as calm as he was before. He practiced true equanimity, refusing to let the current tragedy disturb his inner peace or resolve. While others rushed to label the event a disaster, Adam chose the path of quiet, watchful patience. He understood that a divine plan often unfolds in ways the human mind cannot immediately grasp. Why do we only see the immediate consequence instead of the vast landscape of the future? The villagers pressed him for a reaction, desperate to see a crack in his stoic, unyielding armor. To every sympathetic comment and every fearful warning, he offered only a single, steady reply. "Time will tell if this is a misfortune or a blessing," he whispered to the wind. His words hung in the air, a reminder that the story of our lives is never finished. The broken leg was a heavy burden, but Adam refused to buckle under the weight of judgment. He focused on his son's recovery, ignoring the flip-flopping opinions of those who lived below. The neighbors saw only a tragedy, yet a much larger design was about to be revealed. Why do we instinctively label every unexpected turn in our lives as either good or bad? When Max first vanished into the mist, the villagers were quick to cry out in genuine pity. They saw a catastrophic loss, yet Mr. Adam remained anchored in a state of profound, unshakable equanimity. His neighbors could not fathom how a man could lose everything and still maintain such deep inner peace. We often mistake a single difficult chapter for the final conclusion of our entire life story. The human mind craves certainty, rushing to categorize events before the full picture has even begun emerging. Is it possible that what we call misfortune is actually a hidden step toward a greater fortune? Adam understood that the divine plan operates on a timeline far beyond our narrow, immediate human perception. While others drowned in worry, he practiced the rare and difficult art of waiting with quiet patience. Every event in our lives is like a single thread woven into a massive, intricate, cosmic tapestry. When you only look at one dark thread, you miss the beautiful pattern the master weaver intends. The villagers' judgment was based on appearances, but Adam knew that appearances are often just fleeting illusions. True wisdom lies in the realization that only time will tell the true nature of our experiences. We label a situation as bad because it challenges our comfort, not because we know the outcome. Could your current struggle be the very foundation for the breakthrough you have been praying to receive? Most people spend their energy fighting reality instead of trusting the natural, unfolding flow of their destiny. Adam's silence was not a sign of indifference, but a testament to his trust in life's wisdom. He refused to be a victim of circumstance, choosing instead to remain an observer of the unfolding. Why are we so desperate to define the moment rather than simply living through the experience fully? This rush to judgment creates a cycle of unnecessary suffering that haunts our modern, fast-paced world. If we could embrace uncertainty like Adam did, we would find a strength that no tragedy could break. Life is not a series of isolated accidents, but a purposeful journey toward our own highest evolution. When you stop labeling your life, you finally start living with the freedom of a peaceful heart. Patience is not just waiting. It is maintaining a positive and steady attitude while the mystery unfolds. The secret to his calm was the simple truth that fortune and misfortune are often the same. But life was not yet finished with its twists as a new shadow loomed over the peaceful valley. 1 week after Daniel broke his leg, the distant drums of war finally reached the village gates. What happens when the state suddenly demands your only son to fight on the front lines? The government declared a mandatory draft, ordering every healthy young man to serve in the brutal conflict. A storm of fear swept through the community, leaving no home untouched by the impending call to arms. Soldiers marched through the dusty streets, their boots echoing with the grim rhythm of an uncertain future. Is there any greater fear for a parent than seeing their child taken away by the gears of war? The officials went from house to house, recording the names of every able-bodied youth in the entire village. Mothers wept openly as their sons prepared for a journey from which many might never actually return. The atmosphere of the village shifted from quiet labor to a heavy, suffocating cloud of collective grief. Every family faced the heart-wrenching reality of a divine plan that seemed cruel and utterly unforgiving. Amidst the chaos, the villagers remembered the farmer's son and his recent, painful brush with misfortune. When the officers arrived at the farmer's modest home, they found Daniel lying still with his leg shattered. Because of his injury, the recruiters deemed the young man unfit for the rigors of the battlefield. They moved quickly to the next house, leaving the farmer and his son behind in their quiet sanctuary. Once again, The lines between fortune and misfortune began to blur in the eyes of the bewildered neighbors. The broken leg, once seen as a tragedy, had become the very thing that saved Daniel's life. True equanimity allows us to remain steady when the world around us is falling into complete disarray. We must have the patience to see how the unfolding events of our lives eventually reveal their purpose. The villagers realized that only time will tell if an event is truly a blessing or a curse. While every other mother in the village wept for their departing sons, the farmer's house remained strangely quiet. Life's most difficult moments often carry the seeds of our greatest protection in ways we cannot yet see. The officers moved like shadows through the village, their heavy boots echoing a coming storm of sorrow. Can we ever truly call an event bad when we cannot see the final page of our story? The broken leg that the villagers pitied became the very shield that kept Daniel home today. Soldiers went from house to house, collecting young men for a conflict far across the distant mountains. While every mother in the village wept, Adam's small farm remained strangely quiet under the morning sun. The officers finally reached the hilltop, their eyes scanning for anyone strong enough to carry a rifle. They burst through the door, expecting to find another able-bodied recruit for their cold and endless war. Instead, they found Daniel resting by the hearth, his leg bound in thick splints and heavy bandages. The officers looked at the broken bone and saw only a useless boy who could not march. They didn't see a tragedy. They saw a burden they had no desire to carry with them. With a grunt of dismissal, the men turned away, leaving the young boy safe in his bed. Adam watched from the corner, practicing equanimity as the world outside descended into a frantic panic. The injury was a locked door that the enemy simply could not pass through no matter what. Would you still fix the leg if you knew it would send him to his death tomorrow? Soon, a long line of young men marched away, disappearing into the gray mist of the valley. The village grew silent, as the strength of its youth was drained by the call of war. Sadly, many of those who marched away that morning would never return to see their homes again. The very accident that seemed like a curse was actually a divine plan to keep Daniel safe. We often label our moments of pain as misfortune without realizing they are actually protecting our future. Patience allows us to witness how the universe weaves our darkest days into a tapestry of light. Is it good or is it bad? Only the passage of time will tell the whole truth. Daniel's broken leg was the heavy price for a life that would now continue in peace. Fortune and misfortune are often just different sides of the same coin spinning through the air. While others mourned their losses, Adam's family discovered that their greatest trial was their greatest gift. True peace comes when we stop judging the present and start trusting the hidden design of life. The tragedy of yesterday had finally become the unexpected and miraculous salvation of today. Have you ever wondered if the worst day of your life was actually a hidden blessing? As the dust settled on the village, Adam looked at his son and his wild horses. The chaotic cycle of gains and losses finally reached a moment of quiet, profound clarity. He remembered when Max disappeared and how he chose to stay calm despite the loss. While others saw a tragedy, Adam refused to label the empty stable as something truly bad. He understood that equanimity is the only shield against the unpredictable storms of human existence. When the horses returned in abundance, the village celebrated what they perceived as great fortune. Yet Adam knew that fortune and misfortune are often two sides of the very same coin. Seeing Daniel safe because of a broken leg, the full picture finally began to emerge. The injury that felt like a curse was actually a part of a larger divine plan. Every event in the series was a necessary step toward this unexpected moment of salvation. Perspective is like a mountain view. The higher you go, the more the path makes sense. How many of your past disasters eventually led to the strengths you carry with you today? Are you willing to wait for the full plan to unfold before judging your current circumstances? We often rush to judge the present, forgetting that only time will tell the true story. True patience is not just waiting, but maintaining a calm spirit while the clock ticks forward. The broken stable, the wild chase, and the fractured bone were all threads in one tapestry. By practicing equanimity, Adam remained untouched by the emotional roller coaster that exhausted his neighbors. He realized that judging a story by a single paragraph is the greatest mistake we can make. Life is a series of chapters that require us to read until the very final page. Trusting the process means accepting that we cannot see the end from our current vantage point. This wisdom isn't just for Adam. It's a blueprint for our own lives and daily struggles. Imagine bringing Adam's quiet equanimity into the chaotic rush of your own modern life right now. Have you ever felt the crushing weight of panic when you realize you just missed your flight? Your heart sinks as you watch the plane depart, instantly labeling this moment a total disaster. In that moment of frustration, we rarely stop to consider if this delay is a hidden blessing. Like the farmer with the empty stable, you might find that patience reveals a different story later. What if that missed flight saved you from an accident or led you to a life-changing encounter? We often judge our circumstances far too early, forgetting that only time will tell the true outcome. Consider the sudden shock of losing a job you thought was secure and vital for your future. The world feels like it is ending when fortune shifts so abruptly into what looks like misfortune. You might view this ending as a tragedy, much like the villagers viewed the farmer's broken son. Yet, this unexpected vacuum often creates the necessary space for a far better opportunity to eventually arrive. Practicing equanimity means holding your breath and refusing to label these sudden changes as purely good or bad. It is the quiet recognition that we are small parts of a much larger, mysterious divine plan. When we stop reacting with immediate despair, we reclaim the inner peace that Adam held so dearly. Think of the daily traffic jams that test your temper and drain your energy every single morning. Instead of fighting the delay, try asking yourself if this moment is simply life unfolding as intended. Could this pause be the very thing that keeps you safe from a danger further down the road? We are constantly narrating our lives, yet we often get the climax of the story completely wrong. Adam's wisdom suggests that our narrow perspective cannot see the beautiful tapestry being woven behind the scenes. True resilience is born when you stop demanding that life explains its choices to you right now. Every setback carries the seed of an equivalent advantage if you have the patience to let it grow. When misfortune strikes, remember the wild horses and the son whose broken leg became his greatest shield. This ancient blueprint transforms every modern struggle into a neutral event, waiting for time to reveal its purpose. By choosing equanimity, you stop being a victim of circumstance and become an observer of your own destiny. Let go of the need to know the ending while you are still standing in the middle chapter. So how do we apply this wisdom to our busy, modern lives today? The next time your world turns upside down, remember the man at the foot of the green hill. Finding peace begins with the practice of equanimity, staying steady while the waves of luck rise and fall. We often rush to label events as good or bad without seeing the full picture of our lives. Every unexpected twist is part of a grander divine plan that we cannot yet fully comprehend. Cultivating patience allows us to wait for the story to unfold rather than judging the current chapter. Fortune and misfortune are often two sides of the same coin, rotating through the seasons of our existence. Instead of reacting with fear, remind yourself that only time will tell what this moment truly brings. Think of faith as the anchor that keeps your soul grounded during life's most turbulent fluctuations. What broken leg in your life turned out to be a blessing? Perhaps that missed opportunity was actually protecting you from a much greater, unseen sorrow. Will you choose to trust the plan today, even when the path ahead looks dark and uncertain? Maintaining a steady heart through the highs and lows is the secret to lasting, unbreakable peace. Like the man on the hill, we can observe the world without being shattered by its constant changes. Accept each day as a necessary step toward a destination that your future self will eventually celebrate. When we stop fighting the flow of life, we find the strength to walk through any storm. Your journey is unique, and your experiences can provide hope to others who are currently struggling. We would love to hear your story of how a difficult moment led to something beautiful. Please share your thoughts in the comments below and join our community of seekers and dreamers. Remember, your story isn't over yet, and the best chapters may still be waiting to be written.